So let's come to a literary movement very much at the end of the Victorian age, which we call Aestheticism, which is also referred to by its French moniker, fin de siècle, which means end of the century. Okay, because it's a French movement, which then came to England. Fin de siècle, basically the last 15 years of the 19th century, time between, say, 1885 until 1900. So what does aestheticism mean? First of all, aestheticism means just things you see. Okay, what is aesthetic? Aesthetic, what is pleasing to the eye, predominantly. I mean, this is the original meaning of aesthetic, yeah? Pleasing to the eye. It's a movement which is interested in form, not in content. Okay, literature is always, you can talk about literature in two ways, either in terms of form or in terms of its content. Okay, content plays no role in aestheticism. Form, because if you say something has to be pleasing, it's the form that's pleasing. It has to sound good. Okay, it has to be beautiful, most of all that. Okay, but what it says is not important. I mean, if you take Oscar Wilde, the greatest, we'll come to him in a minute, the greatest representative of aestheticism in England, who said things like, I mean, I don't know, all women become like their mothers. That's their tragedy. No man ever does. That's his. When people ask him, what do you mean by that, Mr. Wilde? Nothing. It just sounds good, doesn't it? You see, form, it has to sound good. Okay, it has to be beautiful, all that. Meaning is not part of the agenda, okay? Not interested in meaning, interested in form, in beauty. I mean, this is the basic principle of aestheticism. Okay, here he is, Oscar Wilde, died comparatively young in Paris. Okay, he's Irish, by the way. Don't underestimate that. He's not English, although he moved to London and became very much part of the London intellectual establishment. Okay, yes, and he was a genius, certainly a genius. Okay, spoke, I mean, I don't know, Latin and Greek. I mean, he almost spoke them. Okay, he could read it just like that. He read it all, and he is certainly the first, or not the first, I mean, he's a dandy. That's what we call a dandy. Okay, look at him, the way he dresses. I mean, even he is a work of art. Okay, beauty, form, that's all that matters. Okay, you can be as rotten as hell, okay, as long as the form matters. And this is exactly what his greatest novel is about. The Picture of Dorian Gray. If you haven't read it, just watch the film, but do at least that. I mean, it is exactly that. I mean, his picture is beautiful. I mean, he remains beautiful for the rest of his life, although his inner self is rotten. But it doesn't matter, okay? The picture ages, he doesn't. Probably I will talk about the Picture of Dorian Gray later on. Okay, Oscar Wilde wrote a pamphlet, if you like, in a sort of dialogical form, The Decay of Lying, which gives you an idea what aestheticism is. And I just want to discuss with you the last paragraph, more or less, of The Decay of Lying, of his essay, where the four doctrines of aestheticism are memorized, or at least, I mean, pinned down, brought to the point. Okay, here he is. The first doctrine of aestheticism is that art never expresses anything but itself. It has an independent life, just as thought has, and develops purely on its own lines. That's what he said. I mean, this is usually referred to by the French expression l'art pour l'art, or in English, art for art's sake. Okay, art, no content here says, and the important thing is, and this is what I wanted to mention, if you don't have content, you have no morals. You're not interested. Is it morally good or bad? Whatever there is, nothing at all. I mean, you are disinterested in the content, and that's the important thing. Yeah. In order to appreciate art, you don't consider its content. Just consider its beauty. Okay. Art expresses itself. Not a content, not any truth which is behind that, not any models, okay? And if you want to have an aesthetic impression, be disinterested. I mean, yes, if you think of Quentin Tarantino, for example, he does that to perfection up to the present day. You see the beauty of his pictures, the pictures he paints. Don't think about the morals. Don't think about the content, just the beauty of it. That would be very Oscar Wildean. So, la pour la, no morals, no content. Art expresses itself and nothing but itself, and no underlying truth whatsoever. So, first doctrine. The second doctrine is this: all bad art comes from returning to life and nature and elevating them into ideals. The moment art surrenders its imaginative medium, it surrenders everything. I mean, this is in a way goes along with the last doctrine. Art is not a mimesis of life and nature. This would be Aristotle. Art has to be imaginative, beautiful, be imaginative, be as untrue as you can be. No truth, no life, no nature. This is life and nature, truth about things. No, nothing like that. Okay. Be imaginative. Make things up. Beautiful things. That's it. That's all that matters. Okay. Yeah. The second doctrine. The third doctrine is, and that's probably the most important one, is that life imitates art far more than art imitates life. And there you see, I mean, life imitates art more than art imitates life. Okay, mimesis would be, we talked about this, Aristotle, art imitates life, which means you imitate art, has to be judged according to how true it is to real life. But according to Wilde, it's just the other way around. Life imitates art. And this is something we have to talk about, okay? And in a way, this is more important today than it ever was before. Life imitates art, okay? Look at those pictures. I mean, this is Whistler, an American artist who worked in London. And this is what Wilde actually says. Life imitates art. And he gives the example of Whistler, and therefore I have his pictures. Whistler painted a lot. You see London fog here. London fog, some Victorian structures, industrialization and the fog. And Wilde says, I mean, people never saw the fog in London. It was part of their daily life. Only when art came and told us that there is fog, people looked at it and then started romanticizing about fog, okay, in London. Nobody before Whistler or any of these artists ever saw the fog. So this means life is imitating art. We look at, and that's what he means, we look at reality through art. So people went through London and say, oh wow, it looks like Whistler today, look at that, okay? And then they saw it. So they saw, that's what people do. They see reality through art. And this is more true than it ever was today, okay? Look at that. That's ugly, okay? Really ugly. Look at that. This is concrete. This is concrete. I mean, if you imagine you had somebody from the Amazonian rainforest, an indigenous man or woman, and put them in front of New York skyline, somebody who had never seen New York before, they would be afraid. It's ugly. What is beautiful about that? Why do we romanticize about it? Well, because of films. That's art. Because, I mean, you don't see the New York skyline. You probably, if you look at New York skyline, you see that. You see Gotham City. Okay, so you romanticize about New York skyline here because, I mean, it's so much looks like Gotham City, or you see, I don't know, Friends or How I Met Your Mother, or all those movies which play in New York, which means we romanticize about New York because art told us so. And this is aestheticism, this is Oscar Wilde. I mean, people romanticize a lot about the United States, okay? Particularly people with a lower educational background, because, I mean, they take it for granted what they see in films. Okay, and then they want to move to places like Florida only to find out, I mean, it's not the way they expected it to be. Because they look at reality, they think, yeah, reality, they look at reality through films. I mean, people, I don't know, even romanticize about the Arizonian desert because they saw it in films. Why do you want to live in a desert? Oh, because there are a lot of Western movies there or something like that. And then they go and see it. I don't know. About Golden Gate Bridge, they romanticize because it's in so many films. All right. Well, it's just a steel bridge. Oh, go to Paris. There's more beautiful bridges than that, believe me. But people would rather go to San Francisco and watch the Golden Gate Bridge than going to Paris and watch the Pont whatever. Okay, because we look at reality through art, and today, if you say art is everything, which is man-made, I mean, so some like films and pictures and songs, that too, yeah, whatever. Yes, romanticizing about New York is just a case in point. Why do we do that? Well, I don't, but a lot of people do. Well, because they don't see New York, they don't see reality. If they look at it, they see a film, art. Yeah. And there's that, yeah. Life imitates art far more than art imitates life. And it goes along as that, I don't know, young girls want to look like whatever and don't eat anything anymore just because they want on Instagram to look like, yeah, they want to be a work of art themselves. They imitate art. Well, very dreadful. Okay, the final doctrine, final revelation is that lying, the telling of beautiful, untrue things is the proper aim of art. And this is exactly the summing up of it all. Okay, so you have to tell beautiful things which are untrue. And this is the aim of art. Untrue things, lying. Art has to lie. No morals, not interested in content. Just tell beautiful things and make them up. That's what aestheticism is. Well, that's what Wilde did all the time. Okay. I would like to, in the next thing, briefly to talk about one of his poems which makes all that clear. So stay tuned. Okay.